Somerset Maugham once said, it wasn't until quite late in life that I discovered how easy it is to say, I don't know. I can really relate to that. For some reason, when I was younger, I felt that I always had to know what to do, where to go, what to say. I wanted to always be able to raise my hand and give the right answer. I think I was afraid that otherwise I'd look foolish. I still catch myself wanting to have all the answers. But ironically, it's only when I'm arrogant and acting like I know everything that messing up will make me look foolish. Saying I don't know is not only easy, it's a great relief. It's giving myself permission to ask questions, to be uncertain, to perhaps be a little awkward, and to laugh at myself. We all need that. But there are also more serious reasons to say, I don't know, or I don't know enough. I was very interested to see UNI's action of the week this week. Maybe you saw it in the e-news or you got an email about it. It is about the issue of carbon capture and sequestration. The reason I was so interested is that I'd encountered this issue just last month. Dan and I were driving back to DeKalb from an errand to Ottawa when we started seeing small yard signs that said, no CO2 pipelines. We wondered if it was another of those not in my backyard campaigns similar to the issue here with windmills and solar. But we saw a lot of them, so I got out my phone and started Googling. Pretty soon, I found my preconceptions changing as I read about fatal accidents and carbon capture plants that were releasing more emissions than they captured. To quote from UNI's statement, due to the recent influx of federal tax incentives, fossil fuel companies are rushing to make Illinois ground zero for carbon capture and sequestration projects that despite a woeful lack of state and federal protections. There are currently proposals to inject carbon dioxide underground through 22 wells in 6 Illinois counties, and CO2 pipelines have been proposed in 23 counties. Illinois is unprepared and unprotected from the risks associated with every step of the carbon capture and sequestration process, at the capture facility, in the pipelines, and at sequestration sites. So State Bill 1289, House Amendment 3, includes a moratorium that could extend up to 2 years on building CO2 pipelines to allow the federal government time to complete its rulemaking process to improve the safety and oversight of those pipelines. So it's a complicated issue, but because of a little bit of investigation that I'd done, I quickly took action on this week's action of the week. Essentially, we're asking the state to slow down and let our knowledge catch up with our activity. You've probably heard the adage that knowledge is power. And I think it's true. Ignorance is never an advantage. But sometimes, as in the case of carbon capture, we may think we're more knowledgeable than we actually are. That's when we need to remember another adage: a little knowledge is a dangerous thing. It's so easy to take our own limited experience and assume that it's everyone's experience. It's so tempting to think we are completely enlightened on an issue and then not listen to opposing points of view. It's so easy to be content with a shallow knowledge of a subject. In all these situations, we may feel more secure and comfortable as we are, but opening ourselves to learning more can give us an understanding of the world that is richer, more fascinating, more complex, and more intimate than we ever imagined. One of my volunteer roles since I retired is as a master naturalist with the University of Illinois Extension. I took the training and I learned a lot, but I still feel like an absolute novice. There is just so much to learn. The thing that keeps me going is knowing that a naturalist is someone who learns from nature. That's the definition. During our training, our local natural resource educator, Peggy Anisi, said that being able to quickly identify flora and fauna that we encounter could actually keep us from doing good work as a naturalist. Once we name something, we tend to dismiss it, when its name is probably the least important thing about it. She advised us to pause, to observe, to ask questions, to see connections and relationships, and then perhaps to get out the guidebooks and the apps. This doesn't apply only to the natural world. When I first began working as a teacher educator, I partnered with a team of 2 kindergarten teachers that had been working smoothly together for so long they shared a language all their own. And one of their sayings was, "Nothing impedes future learning like past success." Okay, think about it. Nothing impedes future learning like past success. When you have a few successes under your belt, it's easy to think you know what you're doing and just keep applying the wrong strategy over and over, no matter the results, just like Tomo Hilbo cooking rice. And it's the same with people. If you think you know a person, then the temptation is to categorize them. And depending on the category that we assign, we may dismiss or judge them, enlist them, ignore them. But when we humbly acknowledge the infinite nature of every single person, we pause, we pay attention. Rabbi Sharon Brous wrote, a rabbinic text from the 9th century declares that every person is accompanied at all times by a procession of angels crying out, "Make way, for an image of the Holy One is approaching." Every person, like royalty. And yet again and again, the image of the Holy One is controlled and contained, humiliated and degraded, incarcerated and incapacitated, shot and killed before our very eyes. How do we keep missing all those angels with their trumpets blaring? When I read that, I thought, maybe it's because we think we already have that person pegged. What would happen if we were more curious? What if we gave other people our full attention? Would we have more understanding of people? Would we find it easier to love them? According to the Gospel of Mark, one day people tried to approach Jesus with their children to ask Jesus to bless them. The disciples seemed to think this was a waste of Jesus's time and tried to send them away. But Jesus saw it and was indignant. He said, "Let the children come to me, for to such belongs the kingdom of God. Truly, whoever does not receive the kingdom of God like a child shall not enter it." Well, I always think of the kingdom of God as the way this world could and should be, the way it would be if we really lived in such a way as to offer love and hope for all. If we really tried to live in peace, if we eliminated poverty and stopped depression, if we lived in harmony with nature, that world would be the kingdom of God. Jesus is saying we can't have that until we humble ourselves and approach the world with wonder like a child. So let's get in the habit of saying, "I don't know," or "I don't know enough." And then let's open ourselves to wonder and the real possibility of the kingdom of God right here and right now. Blessed be.